What is going on, Badger fans? Great guest today. One of the high upside defensive linemen in that 2026 class joining the show, Carmelo Reed, talking about the journey to Wisconsin and scouting his game, all that and more. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Appreciate you joining in. Appreciate you making this one of your first listens every single day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Big time guest. We're not wasting any time. Let's get into it. 2026 verbal commit. Carmelo Reed joins the show. I want to start here, man. What does it feel like when somebody says Carmelo Reed, Wisconsin Badgers commit?
It feels good, It's like it just feels like a fit. It feels like that's the right sound.
Well, let's start here. So, for people not familiar with your game, 6'7". I saw you listed at 6'7", 250. I think is that still accurate or bigger, smaller?
No, that's still accurate.
Okay, 6'7", 250, defensive lineman coming out of Illinois. Really good offer list. A bunch of Big Ten, SEC type schools, kind of kicking the tires, offering you, talking to you. I want to start with your game. How would you scout your game?
I feel like, I'm physical. I'm fast off the line. My pass rush bag is deep. So, you never know what I could hit you with. I always leave the offensive lineman guessing. I'm a great run defender as well. People don't really know that. I can really see where the ball is going. I can track it down. And I feel like, I'm just a natural football player.
Well, and one of the questions we got, because people were excited to see you on the show today, this is actually from Badger Maniac. What's your favorite pass rush move? And then what's one you're trying to work on?
My favorite is a spin move, and one that I'm working on, I'm trying to work on my ghost. Being 6'7", it is hard trying to get that ghost down. But once I get it down, I'm going to definitely start using that a bit more.
Well, and the spin move is something we see all over your film. Like, I feel like people your size, like 6'7" defensive linemen, that's not something that's in their bag traditionally. Where did you pick that up?
I originally played basketball, so that's where that came from, and I just implemented it to football, and it worked.
Do you feel like offensive linemen, you kind of shock them with that a little bit?
Definitely. Nobody really expects me to hit it. They expect me to speed to bull. That's really, that's my first option. But, when that's not working, I always resort to the spin move, and that usually works.
Talk to me about your hoop game. What was your hoop game like?
I wasn't the best hooper because I started late, freshman year. So I really was a late bloomer. So, I stopped playing basketball this year, and I started focusing on football a little bit more.
Let me ask you this. How did being a basketball player help you on the football field?
The conditioning for sure. The conditioning, I was more physical in basketball. So, it just transitioned that physicality to football. It was really natural.
When did you first think, like, man, football might be the future for me? When did that first thought come into your head?
This year, actually, because, this is my first year actually starting on varsity. And, it really wasn't no shock. It was just, it felt natural because I usually play JV all my years. But, this is my first year being a varsity starter, and I feel like I did pretty well. I'm ready to go at it next year and improve.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I love the mentality of I got more to prove. But, yeah, you did pretty well. You got a bunch of colleges coming after you, man. I think you did pretty well for year one on varsity. You mentioned, working on some other stuff. How much time do you put into the game?
It's every day. It's like more of a lifestyle than, anything. It's like I live football. That's all I do. It's all I think about. Whenever all my free time, I'm thinking about football, watching film, thinking about ways to get better, thinking about watching different people hit pass rush move, watching the players around my area, seeing what they do, seeing what they do. I pick up on what they do.
Something you mentioned that I think is really cool. You talked about the run defense because a lot of players, again, that's that kind of gritty work that a lot of guys don't want to do. They want to rush the passer. They don't want to get down and physical. Where did that part of your game come from? Why are you so into that part of it?
Because it's just about the physicality, dominating the man in front of you. That's what I'm all about. Dominating whoever's in front of me, showing them that I'm better than them, rather than telling them,
And then what are you doing specifically this off? So you talked about I'm working on this. I want to get better here. But like, are you going to any camps, clinics? Do you have a skills coach? Do you do like what does that look like for you on a daily basis, weekly basis?
I am attending camps here and there. I was just at the UR athlete camp yesterday, I believe, and I went 27-0, and I got an invite to the All American Showcase. So I'm pretty excited about that. I don't have a position coach, but I do work on pass rush moves by myself. Polishing my game and just getting better any way I can.
Talking a little bit about more about your game, being 6'7", and I imagine you're going to get bigger as you get into a college program, as you become a senior in high school. Is there any thought about kicking inside a little bit? Like, where are you most comfortable on the line? I know most of your stuff is on the outside. Pass rushing, would you kick inside? What do you think?
I feel comfortable all along the line. Nose guard, tackle, DN, wide out 9. Anywhere on the line, I feel like I could be dominant. I just got to put the time in and work at it to really excel at my highest level.
What's the best game you played last year, do you think?
The best game I played, I feel like that was the Bloom game we played. I had 9 tackles, 2 sacks, and 7 TFLs.
What's the most difficult game you played last year, and why?
That Kankakee game we played, it was cold that game. We just weren't clicking on offense or defense, so it was like that was a pretty tough game for us.
What's something your coaches have talked to you about? Like, hey, next year we want to either try you here or use you here, or we want you to get better here.
My coach, they always tell me just stay lower. That's what they said was my biggest problem this year. I just didn't stay as low enough. They said if I stayed lower, I would have definitely impacted games way harder than I did. That's what I'm working on now, just staying low, like, because I am 6'7". That's a pretty thing. Like high school, everybody's gonna be shorter than me, so they're gonna be up under me. They'll have natural leverage. So that's what they tell me, just work on my leverage and staying low.
Which, by the way, so I've talked to like several offensive linemen coming in Wisconsin, defensive linemen. It feels like every 6'6", 6'7" guy is told you got to be lower, you got to get more leverage. Mm-hmm. How do you actually do, like, because it seems like so easy to not have to do that with your physical skill set in high school. So how do you translate that we got to get lower to actually making it happen in the game?
It just goes back to conditioning. Like, you have to be conditioned. Like if you're tired, you're not gonna stay low. You're gonna get lazy and stand up. It goes back to conditioning. You just got to be in tip-top shape. And I feel like I'm working on being in tip-top shape to stay low all game.
Let me ask this: what do you think what do you want your teammates to say about you?
They would say, like, he's a dominant guy. He's a great leader. He's an all-around good guy. He's a great human to be around. And I feel like that's what they would say about me.
Let me ask this again, talking about defensive line play here. What is the most enjoyable, this from Robert S., the most enjoyable thing about being on the defensive line?
The pass rushing for sure. Like, just being able to get to the quarterback and, hit him, affect the quarterback, because the quarterback, he could affect the whole game. He could change the whole game around. And, if I'm able to stop the QB, I'm able to stop the whole game.
And you got a couple of clips. We had your huddle film up here behind you, but I realize now people can't see it. But there's a couple of clips where you just obliterate the quarterback. What is that feeling like where you beat the tackle, the quarterback's in front of you, he hasn't even started throwing yet? For those of us haven't been in that spot, what is that feeling like?
It's a little scary because, sometimes you don't know if he's going to run away. But, I try to get to him as fast as I can. It's more of like, wow, where am I going to hit him at right now? That's what I be thinking. I'm like, where am I going to hit him at right now?
Last question here, and then I want to get into some of the recruitment to Wisconsin and how that journey took place. What are your goals for next year, senior season?
My goals, you said, say that again, you cut out.
Yeah, no, sorry, your goals for next year, senior season.
My goals, double-digit sacks for sure and 100 tackles with about 30 TFLs.
I love it, man. He is Carmelo Reed. We're going to take a quick second for our friends of the show. We're going to come back and talk about his journey to Wisconsin and what the recruitment was like. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. Really stoked to have him on the show. First, a quick second for all your friends, for our friends of the show over at today's episode brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Listen, if you want to buy tickets to any event, whether it's sporting events, concerts, theaters, get you some seats at Camp Randall. For in a couple of years, you're going to want to watch Carmelo Reed sack the quarterback. You're going to do that in Camp Randall and get those tickets over at Game Time. Right now, Game Time gets you tickets to concerts, theater events, sports. It's all over there. Great deals, peace of mind, easy shopping. I've used it to get Atlanta Braves tickets on the way to the stadium in my cab. Gets emailed to my phone before I even get there. Listen, technology is incredible. Game Time is the best place to get your tickets. The fastest, cheapest, easiest way with the best user interface. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, let's jump back into this conversation. Again, have a great guest on today. I want to start here, Carmelo. Where can people follow you? If you have a social media presence anywhere?
Yeah, I do. I have an Instagram and Twitter. My Instagram is 3k.mellow, and my Twitter is Carmelo Reed.
Love it. We'll link those on the show. Go follow along so we can follow and cheer along. Senior season coming up. What was the first contact with Wisconsin like? Who did you talk to first, and what was that first connection like?
I talked to Coach Willow. He came to my school. He actually visited me twice, and that was like, that really stood out to me. He was like, before they even offered me, they came and talked to me twice, seeing what I was about, seeing who I was as a person, before even talking football, before offering me. Like, I feel like that was really big, like, because other schools, they will offer me and they barely talk to me. But, they really wanted to know me as a person, what I'm about, what I stand for. And, like, that really stood out to me.
And Coach Willow in particular, I'm sure you've had more conversations with him. What is he like as a position coach? Why do you want to play for him?
He's amazing. Like, I just feel like he's a great human in general. Like, he's just about what he's about. He's just about family oriented. He's a family oriented dude. Like, he loves his players. That's what I get from him, and he feels like he would treat me right.
Any other coaches you've talked to a lot, whether it's Fickle, Tressel, or maybe Pat Lambert, the recruiting coordinator? Anyone else that you've talked to on the staff that made a big impression?
I talked to Coach Mitchell. That's what they see me at, as an outside linebacker. He's a great dude as well. He's a amazing human, high energy, and he's not gonna tell me the truth. He's not gonna lie about nothing. He's gonna be straight up with me. He's not gonna beat around the bush. He's gonna tell me everything straight up.
Let me ask you this. This is another question we got from people that were excited to kind of hear you on the show. This is from Badger Pack Sports. He's wondering, was there a moment, just one moment where you're like, yes, it's clear I want to be in Madison?
When I was up there for that one visit, a few weeks ago, like the family environment, it was just warm, welcoming. Like, it's like I felt like home before I even committed. Like, it just felt like the right place. All right.
Is there anything specifically that Wisconsin maybe did different than some of the other schools that were offering you?
Just the family environment. That's really it. Like, Wisconsin, that feels like a home away from home. Like, that feels like a place that I could really, really call home, and like see myself fitting in that defensive scheme and really being productive. Because that's what it's about. It's about being productive to make it to that next level.
For you, what's the worst / most difficult / most stressful part of the recruiting process?
You said say that again, you cut out.
Yeah. No, what's the most difficult or stressful part of the recruiting process for you?
Just the offers piling in, all the coaches texting you, like, you got to keep up with that. You got to text everybody back, schedule a bunch of meetings and stuff. That's probably the most stressful part, just making sure I get back to everybody.
And what was the best part?
The best part, the offers, receiving offers, like, it's a great feeling, it's really a blessing, to hear the coaches say, we want to offer you a scholarship. That's where I get my joy from.
Is there any team that or anybody in the Big Ten that you're really excited to play when you get to Wisconsin?
USC for sure.
Love it. What about then Madison and Camp Randall itself? What stood out to you with the town and the facilities and the stadium?
The community around it is like very welcoming and very they make you feel like you belong there. Like, I didn't feel like I stood out or nothing. Like, they really welcomed me. They talked to me. They interacted with me. In the jump around, I was there for a game. In the jump around, I didn't want to stand up. And like, none of the recruits went to stand up. They like, yo, what y'all doing? Y'all got to stand up, jump around. We jumped around. It was fun. It was like really fun. And I just felt like that's people I want to be around and be around for the next 4 years.
Year one, when you get to Madison, by the way, do you plan on enrolling early? Is that something you've thought about or talked about?
Yeah, I do plan on enrolling early, in January.
Is that a difficult decision for you or no?
No, it's not. That's something I've always thought about, especially with me taking football seriously. I definitely want to enroll early. It was no second thought.
And then what are maybe some goals that you're already thinking ahead? Year one in Madison, obviously you still have a whole nother year of high school left, but what are some things you'd like to accomplish when you get to Madison year one?
Come in and instantly be productive. Maybe have like a sack or two, my first year, a few TFLs, and just being a part of the defense and being productive year one.
Let me ask you this, a bit of a lightning round here. You ready? Need some rapid fire questions? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Biggest from Brian Shetty, biggest influence athlete or coach throughout your career?
Biggest influence athlete was Chase Young for sure. Seeing him at Ohio State, then going to the Commanders and doing his thing, that was that for sure.
Anybody else in this class that you're hoping is going to join you, or are you talking to anybody else in this class?
My teammate Troy Gardner, I'm hoping to see him get an offer because he gonna commit immediately because he loves Wisconsin. That's his place. That's where you want to be. I'm ready to see him there with me.
What's your comfort food? A food that you go to when you need something good?
French fries. Yeah.
I love it. Favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant? Texas Roadhouse.
Dude, man, those buns with the cinnamon butter?
Yeah.
Dude, those are incredible. When you get into EA Sports, the CFB 25 game, what is your speed going to be?
Speed, probably 80.
How about acceleration?
Acceleration, probably a 77.
Power,
85.
and then tackling.
Tackling, 91.
I love it. Next one here. What do you plan on potentially studying at college? Have you given any thought on that?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna study education. Try and be a coach or something else. I'm not sure. I might change it. That was just something that's always been a thought to me to try and be a coach if NFL doesn't work out.
Hidden talent, something you do that isn't football related.
I can sing. People don't know that I can really sing.
What do you like singing?
I can sing love songs.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
Whose picture are you rocking across your chest there?
This me and my cousin.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
What's last question here, man? And I really appreciate the time. This has been incredible. You're really good at this.
Yes, sir.
What's something you want Badger fans to know about you? What kind of player are they getting with Carmelo Reed?
You're getting a dominant, fast, lengthy player. I can really play anywhere on the D-line. I can play linebacker. I can play safety, corner. I can really play anywhere in the defense, play anywhere in the offense. I feel like I can do it all.
Love it, man. He is Carmelo Reed. We're going to link all the social media in the show. Go give him a follow. Big time 26 Badgers commit joining the show. Man, I appreciate you, and we're going to be rooting you along.
I appreciate you.
That was Carmelo Reed joining the show. Big thanks to him. He was phenomenal. I think he's going to be a bit of a fan favorite in Madison for sure. We're going to take a quick break for our friends of the show. Come back and talk about why his versatility and size fits into what they're trying to build in the front seven and why it's such a big get for this Badger staff. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick break for our friends of the show over at Prize Picks. Listen, you need the simplest and the best daily fantasy platform anywhere. That's Prize Picks. It's not complicated. It's simple. The best place for daily fantasy sports with Prize Picks. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections. That's it. And then you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. And it can be as simple as I'm going to take Aaron Judge, more than 1 home run this week, and I'm going to pair that with Shohei Ohtani with more than 1 stolen base. It's that simple. You don't have to do all the machinations of doing those complex fantasy games. This is easy. It's fast. There's exclusive promos. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's called LOCKEDONCollege. $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay, let's jump back into this. Let's talk a little bit more Carmelo Reed here and why I think this is an important get and why I think he brings some versatility and just what they're trying to move towards. You go back to what they wanted to do at Cincinnati, this Fickle Tressel defense, what they wanted to do at times here. I don't think they've had the bodies to fully do it. They want size and versatility. This is the prototype for that. This is a guy who has SEC offers, Big Ten offers, tons of interest. I think he's scratching the surface. You heard him talk about it, continuing to refine the pass rushing game. He already flashes some pretty advanced moves for his size. A 6'7" guy that is using a spin move, is able to get a lot of pressure, is able to be disruptive. He can play the run. I think he's probably going to add, as a senior going into his senior year in high school and then into a college strength and conditioning program, this is probably going to be a 6'7", 270-pound cat, right? Who can move pretty well in space. It's interesting to me that they're looking at him as a bit of an outside linebacker, which to me I think is still someone who's going to a lot of times be a bit of that overhang, that bigger outside linebacker that can still set the edge, rush the passer, be really versatile. But maybe even potentially he grows into somebody. You think back to like an Eric Armstead at Oregon, right? The type of guy who at 6'7" would kick inside and be on pass rushing situations, a really athletic interior pass rusher that with that wingspan that he has, which is an elite measurable by itself, right? Can get up and disrupt short passing games, can get up and bother the passer, can get up and create some havoc there, tip balls, lead to interceptions. You just need bodies like this. You just need pieces like Carmelo Reed to build a dominant defense in 2025. You need front seven athletic guys with length and size that you can move around, that can be versatile, that can play with power, that can play with athleticism. He's got a ton of upside. And, Brian Smith, who I talked to, had him on the show after Carmelo Reed committed. And Brian Smith is a guy, again, he's not a Badger fan. He watches a ton of football. He's a scout. Brian Smith is very, very high on Carmelo Reed. Said big time prospect that the Badgers were able to land. Definitely good enough to play at some elite programs. Badgers will have to hang on to him. But that's the case for every player in this new era of college football. You just need bodies like this. And this is one of the higher upside defensive linemen I think they've landed in the last 5 to 10 years, honestly. I really, really like the upside here with what he can bring athletically, what he can bring from a size standpoint. I think this is a big get for the Badgers. So you got to keep stacking bodies here. This is a good one for Wisconsin. And again, super stoked that he was able to jump on the show today and give us a little bit of time. All right, on Wisconsin, a bunch more content coming up. Some more recruits in the 26th class I think we'll be having on. I think Curtis Holland's going to be jumping on. I think we got Nate Brusewitz coming on. We got a bunch of people coming on the show coming up, so you're not going to want to miss it. Thank you for tuning in on Wisconsin, and we will talk later.